Hello everyone, Loremaster of SoTech here, and just kind of a quick little video today about things that are going on over in the Total War space, as we have a pretty big thing coming up, I think towards the end of this month. So apparently either yesterday or the day before, I had missed this, but someone came onto a live stream yesterday and pointed it out to me that Creative Assembly had put up a post here about basically people were just like asking like, when's stuff happening, and this was the response that we got. So I'm gonna read over it and then I'm gonna talk about it a bit, but this shouldn't be like a crazy long thing. I just kind of want to get everyone sort of caught up and then talk about some things that I've got going on here coming up soon, because you know, life's happening. So this message is from Josh CA. Josh, you should probably be familiar with by now, as he's sort of the leading figure that is really pushing to get the community a lot of the live streams and make sure that we're getting as much access to the devs as possible. He also handles a lot of the stuff involving like content creators and stuff, so he's someone that I talk to on a very regular basis, as well as pretty much anybody that is involved in Total War probably has chatted with him many times. But he put out a post here that says, hey, we're working on something and pulling lots of bits together at the moment. The reaction to us showing more in development stuff during the Building Medieval 3 streams has been really great, and we are aiming to give more of a behind the scenes for our other games to show more of what we're working on. So that's really awesome. I have not been watching, admittedly, the Building Medieval 3 streams, because, to put it very bluntly, I don't care. I say with all the love of my heart, I just don't care about Total War historical games. I have zero interest in them outside of the rare thing that forces me to play them. Not because they're bad games, but just because anytime I would be playing a Total War historical game is time I could be playing a Total War Warhammer game, which I find infinitely more fun. I will always love Shogun 2 with the deepest part of my soul, in thanks for that being my first Total War game, but I don't enjoy going back to like the older games. Or just really any historical games. Like I'll probably like try Medieval 3, but knowing me, I probably will never finish a campaign for that game. So that aside, I have heard from people in my community that like to keep up with historical games that these have been really fun streams, that they have allowed people to really feel like they can follow along with what's going on with Medieval 3, and it allows a lot more interaction between the community and the developers, which is really nice, because this allows for a situation where people are able to see what's happening, and it's not just this gulf. I know when Medieval 3 was announced, one of the big criticisms everybody had was that they didn't really have a lot to show. It was just kind of a like, here's the trailer, and then everyone was like, okay, great. So they basically just showed us nothing and got our hopes up, and we're not going to see anything forever. But these development streams seem to have gone a really long way to allowing people to feel like they're able to be a part of the process, and they're also getting drip-fed information, which I think this is a really good thing. I don't imagine Total War ever doing what like Larian Studios does, where they have like these is it Giant Games? The guys behind the Hades games. Super Giant Games. There we go. Where, you know, they have like these really in-depth early access periods where people can play a absolutely ridiculous amount of the game and give tons and tons of feedback, and it's more of a cooperative experience between the community and the developers. I think just because of the nature of Creative Assembly and the fact that they're like owned by Sega and there's a lot more red tape, that they will never ever be at that level with the community. But I do think that these medieval streams seem to be a very big step towards the idea of allowing people to see much more behind the curtains, get to know the people that are actually making the games, see what's happening with the games, which allows them to give feedback and responses, to be able to say, hey, we don't want to see this, or we want to see more of this, or want to see less of this. And I think it gives the opportunity for the games to be subtly adjusted over time to allow people to give their thoughts and opinions, which is good. I think it's just good. The more transparency is better, I think most of the time. So long as it's, I think it's so long as it's sort of like a nice drip feed thing where you constantly are getting updates every once in a while, I think that's a good thing. But anyway, so the next part here is, so we're working on a Total War wide stream where every game / DLC we've announced has 15-ish minute slots for developers to come on and chat about their work. The plan is to fill each game slot with what makes sense to show. So it could be a deeper look at something we've already announced, a focused Q&A to answer community questions, showing off something new, or a mix of the above. So basically what this means is we are going to be getting a mixture of, to my understanding, I believe we're going to be giving like a Bashiva update, so the Bashiva and the Tiger Warriors update. Then we're going to be getting an End Times update, and I would imagine the next thing after that will probably be Total War 40K, because those are the major projects that they currently have that we're aware of. They might do something else, but I mean, that's going to be at least a 45-minute stream. I'm not sure if they're going to do Medieval 3 as well. They might also do Medieval 3, in which case we're looking at an hour show. But I believe that the End Times and Bashiva are going to be their own separate slots, so they're going to get their own showcases. And this is probably going to be, I would assume that this is probably going to be the last big update we get on Bashiva, because I would imagine that the release date either will be announced or it will be, this will probably be the last update we get before the release date is announced, and we get like a trailer. I don't even know if they're going to do a trailer. I hope they do, because I always really love the trailers. But I do think this is going to be like the final update of any note with Bashiva. But I would assume it's probably going to be less about Bashiva herself and hopefully more about any other content that might come alongside the DLC, as it is going to be patch 8.0, I believe. Is it 7.0? 8.0? Whatever, it doesn't matter. The next major patch. So presumably it should come with something of note. You know, things that I would really, really like to see would be like the next major part of the Siege update would be really cool. So maybe finally getting rid of the ladders, or the butt ladders, and giving us like a major update to Sieges, or perhaps like a major update to Grand Cathay. That would be really cool. I would give my left nut at this point to have like a major campaign mechanic for Zhao Ming that revolves around like his alchemy and his creation of items and forging and such, and then have the Great Bastion made into purely a Miao Ying mechanic. You know, add more events, make it where there are different kinds of triggers that happen depending on like how many of the gates you control and what health they're at. Make the invasions that she faces more dynamic and interesting, and like the stronger the wall is, perhaps the less frequent but more powerful the invasions that she faces are. Meanwhile, if the walls are more damaged or lower level, maybe there are more frequent attacks, but they tend to be less powerful, with like a big spike every once in a while. And then, but anyway, I'd love to see Cathay sort of straightened out a bit. I really do feel like the Great Bastion just doesn't make sense for Zhao Ming anymore. It doesn't fit him. I don't think his campaign encourages the player, or rewards the player for that matter, to deal with the Great Bastion. So I'd love to see those fixes, maybe some tweaks to the tech tree. I don't know if the Cathay tech tree necessarily needs a big rework. They could. I mean, they'd certainly make it easier to navigate if they did it in like the, you know, like the panels they could do. So if, for the ogres, for instance, we now have like the tribe panel and the camp panel. Maybe they could do something with Grand Cathay where it's the yin panel, the yang panel, and the harmony panel. So like you have one panel that's dedicated to all your yin buffs, one that's dedicated all to your yang buffs, and the other one is more about like when you're in harmony and like more specific buffs perhaps to that character. So maybe like Bashiva has her own unique text, and then Zhao Ming, Miao Ying, and Yuan Bo have their own unique text in the like the harmony tree. That could be cool. I'm just throwing up random stuff, but I do hope to learn a good bit about Shiva. I'd love to see some animations, get to see the Tiger Warriors in action, get to see exactly what all we're dealing with. Like I know they noted that we're getting like 3 unique units, but I'm really curious, are they going to have any variants? I don't like leaning on it because it doesn't necessarily reflect what we're actually going to get. But like if you look at like the Lords of Shenyang leak, that had us getting 3 units of Tiger Warriors, and they had like a notable amount of variants. So I'd be curious if we're going to be getting any variants, or are we just going to be getting like 1 of each? But anyway, so there's a lot to show off there. And then for the end times, I think now would definitely be the opportune moment to show off a new part of the end times. If they're going to be going in kind of like the numerical order, I imagine the next thing they're going to show will be the Glotkin, as the Glotkin is the next major empire, or the next major, what's the word I'm looking for? End times. He's the next major end times character, where you have like Nagash is book 1, Glotkin was book 2, Cain, which I can't imagine we're going to get anything involving Cain because the elves don't really have nearly enough material, is probably going to be the book we got nothing from. And then book 4 is Thanquol, and then book 5 is Archaon, who we obviously already have, and we actually have everything from Archaon already in that book, so I don't think it's going to have anything to do with him necessarily, though we do know he's getting a major update. But it could be like Grand Cathay and the Monkey King, it could be the Empire, because we still haven't gotten the Middenheim faction from the Storm of Chaos, it could be a notable update for Bretonia, which would be really out of left field, but super cool. It could be, I'm trying to think who else would make sense. You could do greenskins, but I feel like greenskins wouldn't make a lot of sense, because I mean the end times thing for them was kind of Grimgor's Art Boys, and we already have them. Regardless, if they're gonna go in numerical order, the next one would be the Glotkin. I feel like the 4th one they're gonna reveal last, because it's kind of the mystery speculation one. But I don't know. Let me know y'all's thoughts. Could be Vultan, actually. Vultan would also make sense. But anyway. So down here it says, we've not done this kind of thing before, and it's a lot of organization, new processes, reworking tech, and 100 other things that I hadn't anticipated, but we're getting everything sorted with the intent to run it at the end of April. I'd optimistically said mid-April was possible, but there's still a lot to do. So end of April, probably the last week of April. Very, very likely last day of April, knowing CA. When it's ready and we have a time and date locked in, we'll let you know officially on the usual channels, hopefully alongside some more info of exactly what games will be featured. Also, happily take any name suggestions for the stream. Okay, well, if you see Josh, make sure to nominate some name ideas. But this is really exciting. I think this is going to be really great. To my understanding, it's going to be a big live stream. So it's going to be a whole big live stream. So I will do a live reaction to this. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what time. I will move anything I have to move. I will live stream this and follow it. So that's all I have to say about that. As I want to get out of here real quick, so I will say that please do keep a heads up here on the channel for information soon. I am intending on doing something that's kind of known as they're called subathons over on Twitch, but it's the idea of like a creator would like do big streams with a bunch of different financial incentives for like reaching certain levels of subscribers or tips or whatever. And I'm going to be doing some pretty crazy shit on there. If anyone's interested in coming by, I'm playing quite a bit of Total War for a lot of those streams, as well as some other games with friends. But there's going to be a potential that if we raise enough money and such, that I will become a Slayer, as in I will shave my head except for a mohawk crest that I will dye red along with my beard, which I've just been allowing to grow out as much as possible in preparation, as well as my hair, which I hope a part of me really hopes that doesn't happen. but we'll see what goes down. So please do keep an eye out for that. That will be starting actually very, very soon, potentially either this next week or at the latest the week after. But also, just a small announcement to also keep your eyes out for. I'm not exactly sure where yet because I'm still waiting for the final info. But this Sunday, Andy Law and I, both of the big bosses over at the Lorebeards, are going to be doing a big stream with Pancreas No Work, who I'm sure you're all aware of and love very, very dearly. One of the most famous people in the Warhammer sphere these days, with his fantastical videos that just have just peak peak comedy, and we're going to be doing a really fun stream with him over on his channels. So more information about that will be coming up very soon, and I hope you'll consider popping in, joining us to support me and Andy as we do some really fun shenanigans with him and talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I will be streaming quite a bit today if you're interested in popping by and saying hello. But other than that, please take care, and I'll see you around.